Hey Axis and Allies players, this is the Good Captain. Welcome to another video on Axis and Allies Classic. And today I'll be covering the Axis response to not only the Unplug and Chug, but I'm going to be going over some I think they're very key mid and long range strategies available to the Axis that, insofar as I can tell, are not really spoken of on the forums, and hopefully to my listeners, you might see something new here, or at least interesting, that could help you think differently about how to play this game, especially as the Axis. I've played this game a lot since I issued my open challenge on the forums and off the forums, and I've gained a lot of experience, and so I'm going to be giving away a part of that experience here today. I haven't really shared these strategies before. This is what I wanted, I was hoping for, and I feel like I've got something to share with the Axis and Allies community. So this is, as a backdrop, let me orient you. This is round 2, or the end of round 1, I should say, but we're going to be going through round 2 of the last Axis and Allies game that I played on the forums, in which I saw the Unplug and Chug strategy. But we're at the end of this turn right now to go over one aspect about Germany before moving on to the Russian turn, and so I'll say that I'm not going to go through a turn by turn of what to do and how to do it and what units moved where and what was significant. This is silly, and anybody who plays Axis and Allies knows that after the first world turn, there's really no sense in talking about long-range strategy in depth. The board, as you see it now, even if you copied exactly what I did and my opponent did, would probably look, at least in part, different due to your dice being different than mine. I'm going to discuss with you specifically one strategy for Germany that I've learned to utilize to great effect in my many games as Germany, and one strategy as Japan that I've learned to use to great effect as that power. And I'm not saying that these strategies guarantee victory. Far from it. I'm saying that they are competitive. I've pressure tested them against some extremely good opponents, and they seem to hold water. They're just things that I think you should keep in mind when you're playing as the Axis. So this is the end of America's turn, and the only reason I bring this up is I want to demonstrate the situation on the Eastern Front as it is. In a previous video, I said that you should always leave a blocker and never leave a territory to be taken for free by the enemy. That's because it takes more energy for one infantry to be removed than to leave nothing in there. One territory empty takes one infantry to take. One territory with an infantry in it needs honestly about 2 infantry and some sort of supporting unit at least to take, so it can draw off quite a bit of manpower. But in this situation on the East Front, a very common Russian army that you can see going into turn 2 is exactly what's up here, which is 19 infantry, 3 tanks, and 2 fighters. This could be 20 if they didn't put a blocker in the Caucasus, but this is very common. Now you'll see what I have here is 11 infantry, 8 tanks, and a fighter and an anti-aircraft gun. And you'll recall that I did not attack the British fleet around the United Kingdom, and that was due to my strategy, this strategy of using the transport to evacuate Finland, Norway of 2 infantry and moving them to Eastern Europe. Now look what happens when I run the odds. So this is in favor of the Russians, not by much, but mid 50s to low 60s is not a sure thing at all. And this is the best I could make it by pulling out my blocker, by pulling out my 2 infantry from Finland, Norway. And the only way to avoid this situation, if you didn't evacuate those 2 troops from Finland, Norway, and you only had 9, you would have to have a fighter replace those 2 infantry. Okay, that's the only way to do it. And in my strategy, the way I run things, that's not acceptable. Again, this is just part of the technique, but I just wanted to point that out. I'm using this, I think, as leverage to explain to my audience that this is another reason why I do what I do when I don't attack the UK fleet, and that is definitely the one thing more than anything else that I've got most pushback for. But there's another reason why I don't do it. We're going to go into Russia's turn now. And at the end of Russia's turn, I'm just going to gloss through this real quick. They built 8 more infantry. They moved their tanks into Russia here. They moved the blocker up. Okay, pretty standard stuff. So we're going to go into Germany's turn, and I'm going to very quickly demonstrate what I did, and what I'd like to do is build all infantry. And my combat move, I moved these 2 fighters against the British transport. I moved 2 infantry out of Eastern Europe into Ukraine. I moved 2 fighters to ensure that that territory would be blasted and taken. And yes, I used my bomber to attack these transports. And I'll very quickly run over this battle. Even if I get 2 hits in a row with this German bomber, I have a 50-50 chance of losing it. Because he'll have at least 3 dice to throw that need a 1 or less, or 1, excuse me, to hit. And 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6 is 3/6. That's how you calculate that. So best case scenario, it's a coin toss that I'll blast those 2 transports and get away. But even if I am destroyed, this to me is worth it. Bombers are offensive units that should be used to maximal effect every turn until they're destroyed. I'm saying that now because it comes up in Japan's, the strategy that I'm going to talk about when it comes to Japan. So I just want to mention that here. All right. So how did it end up? I took the territory, blasted the transports, survived with my bomber intact, and I lost a fighter over here. So I did end up losing 1 fighter by the end of my German turn 2, but that's fine. The damage was done. We did what we needed to do, and this is the situation in the Eastern Front. And now I'm going to talk about here's my Easter egg for Germany, okay? I'm going to do my best to explain this. It is a difficult concept to explain. I've tried different ways of, practiced different ways of explaining it, and this is my best shot, all right? All right, so what most people who play this game will do is assume that this is some sort of stalemate or stagnant front, and this is incorrect. You should not look at this as a stagnant front. The Allies will have transport fleets up and running by the end of this world turn, about 4 or 5 deep. I'm generalizing here, but if they're decent players, they should start creating the opportunity for them to shuck troops, tanks, and create possibilities for attacks over here. And so what most German players do is nut up. They'll just stack troops in these 4 key territories and try to hang out as long as they can. Strap in, because I'm about to skip to a new world turn here. This is the next world turn. Okay, so my opponent just swapped the territory back with me. He took Ukraine, and probably assuming that I would just take, do what I did again, and we would keep trading Ukraine. But I did not, and I would recommend that you don't think of Germany as just having to sit and wait for Japan to come rescue it. If I could call it something, I'd call it the German waltz, because it is kind of like a ballet, and the key is utilization of dead zones. Now, you'll notice that I have 20 infantry in Germany, 6 in Western Europe, and 16 in Ukraine. You can see how Germany, if you build only infantry every turn, and you sort of follow my strategy, can turn into, at least for a short period of time, an economic powerhouse and outproduce the Russians. This allows you this sort of opportunity here. This dead zone in Eastern Europe is so dead that if the Allies did anything other than just land a blocker here, they're going to lose it. In other words, I'm telling you that I've already done this. You can do it yourself. I've run the battle calculation, and if the British, who go next, take this zone with every troop and tank that they have, and then the Americans reinforce with all the troops and aircraft they have, and then the Russians pile on with everything they can throw in, it's still not enough to get below an 80% threshold of success if I attack with these 36 infantry and 8 tanks and my Air Force thrown in, okay? That's the extent of that situation. So it may look like Eastern Europe's exposed, but it's not. And this is taking advantage of not only the map situation, much like the Atlantic, how the shuck is so easy, it seems overpowering when you're the Allies. This situation in Russia is very unique. Russia has an industry in Karelia that it does not want to lose. And when you split your battle groups like this and maximize the use of these dead zones, what you do is create a situation in which the Allies cannot effectively attack one or the other battle group without giving up Karelia. I'll say that again. The situation we're going to create is one in which the Allies cannot effectively destroy either battle group without leaving Karelia exposed to the other battle group. And this creates a harsh situation, a very three-deep situation that the Allies have to solve. It's a puzzle. And so this gives the Axis, the Germans, I should say, more flexibility in terms of amplifying their combat power on the Eastern Front. All right? This is how you amplify your combat power on the Eastern Front. This is turn 3. This is the end of turn 3. You want to see the end of turn 4? Look at the options you could do. I moved another army into a bigger army into Eastern Europe here, and solidified it. So now I can project, what is this, 40 troops and 8 tanks against Karelia. So Karelia's in hot water as it is right now. I'll go to this is the end of turn 4. You want to see the end of turn 5? I created another hopscotch type dead zone, and the waltz continues, okay? Now, if you think that this is a tough situation, like how are you going to get out of that one? I had the Japanese reinforce, okay? So check this out. This is something you want to aim for too. The Japanese can eventually help you. And so the German on turn 5 now, I believe this is, moves into the Caucasus with an army that is ripe for destruction. 16 infantry and 6 tanks is not enough to repel what's coming here. But only the British can do something, and the British aren't strong enough to do anything quite by themselves. So what I did was I took the Japanese Air Force and moved them 1, 2, 3 spaces into the Caucasus. I don't know if my opponent saw this potential or not, but now this creates a very disadvantaged situation. Now I've removed the lucrative nature of this assault against this battle group. It's now an uphill fight for the Allies, and what my opponent ended up doing was sacrificing his American Air Force on the very next turn to just weaken it enough. I think he got 2 or 3 kills out of this attack, which just weakened it enough to give him a good, roughly 50% chance to use the Russian army to come in and wipe it out, which I think he did, if I can recall correctly, but at such significant loss that it was, it was a wash. And for me, for Germany, that's great. Look how far we've gone. Look how far we've gotten. And this helps Japan put a lot of pressure on Russia too. So again, this is a German strategy, and you can see the situation down here. Eventually, you'll lose Africa. This is a German strategy that you should just, at the very least, be aware of, because I've never seen anyone do anything like this, and it is so effective. Build only infantry, and then sort of shove your way forward in this dead zone ballet on the Eastern Front. Okay. Now we'll go to Japan, because this I think is even more interesting and more important to understanding how to operate the Axis in an advantaged way. So on my second turn, I purchased an industry and a bunch of infantry, and it's just enough. 6 infantry is just enough to load up the 3 transports I want to use as a land bridge for the following turn, and 1 industry obviously goes into Manchuria. Hopefully this is obvious to everyone. It helps project your combat power. If you build tanks in Manchuria, they're able to go as far as bordering the Russian capital in 1 turn. If you build bombers, they're able to bomb the Russian capital in 1 turn or affect the battle in 1 turn, and arguably fighters too, as long as you control at least 1 zone next to them, next to that. And I'll just very quickly go through my combat movement. You're clear now to do the Pacific Rim tour. So you'll want to invade Hawaii. And I used I'm just doing exactly what I did in this game against my opponent. This is what I used to attack Hawaii. And then on turn 3, in the non-combat movement, there will be a unit in the Caroline Islands. And on turn 3, you'll wipe out Australia using the combined fleet. And this transport in Hawaii will hit New Zealand. So by the end of turn 3, Japan will have secured all 4 IPCs in the Pacific. I had the China infantry take Xinjiang and the Indian infantry take Persia. And then this bomber really has no job. And so here we go. All right, everybody strap in, because here's another crazy idea that I'm going to throw out there. But this is what I did. Industrial bombing. I went for a strategic bombing raid on Russia. And this is where I coined the term sunny skies, which is sort of a tongue-in-cheek reference to dark skies, a strategy that I first saw put forward by someone called General Hand Grenade. He's a guy who does videos like me, but for global. and I thought it was a cool name, but I couldn't call it Yellow Skies in here because it's 2019 and that's not cool. So what is Japan but the land of the rising sun, the empire of the rising sun? So and their pieces are yellow like the sun, so sunny skies. And the concept behind sunny skies is one of continuous strategic bombing. Yeah, I said it. You're going to bomb Russia's industry until you lose your bomber. And in fact, you're going to want to do this so much and so often that eventually your German bomber will be destroyed doing this activity. There is a method behind this madness, though, okay? So I'm not doing this just trying to be dicey. That's not my MO. And so now what I'm going to show you all is something, this is anydice.com, okay? And this is a website that gives you the probability of throwing d6s or any any dice really. So I've put the inputs as what's the odds of rolling 5 dice? What is the average number that I'm going to get if I roll 5 six-sided dice? And why did I choose 5? Well, theoretically speaking, on an infinite timeline, if Japan is going to bomb, if you're going to do strategic bombing as Japan is doing here, then 1 out of every 6 of your bombers will be shot down. If you did 6 raids, you're likely to lose 1. On an infinite timeline, this is what's true, okay? That bomber is worth 15 IPCs, and it doesn't get to bomb when it's shot down. But theoretically, you should be able to bomb on 5 times. It will get through, will not be shot down, and will successfully bomb. So what is the average of rolling 5d6? That's what the main question is. Is it worth it for the Japanese to do this or for anybody to do strategic bombing or not? And the answer is yes. Yes, it's worth it. It's worth it if you commit to doing it. If you commit to throwing at least one bomber, having a bomber on ready to go every turn to bomb Russia's industry or any industry, it will pay out on the infinite timeline. So the trick is to just keep at it. Don't be deterred by whatever losses come your way. Keep at it because the averages state that those 5 dice that do get through, the 5 bombers that do get through, will bomb 17 or 18 IPCs worth of industrial production certificates. And 17 or 18 is greater than 15, right? It's greater than the cost of a bomber to do this. The trick is to commit to it. On an infinite timeline, strategic bombing raids pay off for the bomber, not the bombee, if you can commit to them. In my opinion, Russian dollars are worth more than Japanese or German dollars. That's the other thing, too. You want to immobilize the Russian economy and force the Allies to send air units and ground units into Russia. Turn this into a bug light for Allied troops, so that you can secure the economic victory down in Africa. So I said a lot there, I know, but that's the long-range game plan. Leave the option open to take this capital. Yes, you're going to build up, you want to continue to build infantry and tanks to keep the pressure on. That should be your primary mode, but every now and then you should be supplying, and you'll have the opportunity, believe me, if this works, especially against an unplug and chug strategy, the opportunity will come up that you can build more Japanese bombers, not German. Once the German one's gone, it's gone. Germany should build only infantry, but Japan should eventually be able to fill the skies with its aircraft, and hence we have sunny skies. And round-the-clock bombing helps immobilize Russia and make it inert. So that's it. That's what I wanted to show everyone. I wanted to throw that out there. I know I've said quite a bit. These are concepts. These aren't specific strategies. It's not about moving this piece there and doing this or that. But again, I did try to show you how I did it in a fairly typical game against this fairly typical strategy, I have to say. And it doesn't always work, okay? I've lost probably as many games doing this thing as I've won now, but that's what I'm trying to say, is it's competitive to the point where it seems to me that you can balance the game this way. The counter to this is, of course, somebody who builds industries as Britain, as I mentioned in my British video, I recommended building an industry in South Africa and India. If that happens, the Axis strategy is very much different, and usually the response to that is to be much more aggressive, much earlier on, and typically those are much shorter games. But in this world, in this type of strategy, again, this is just the most common allied strategy I've had thrown against me, and so these games are by far the most enjoyable because of the longevity of the game. This is what I have found works best as the Axis. Okay, well, burn me at the stake if you'd like, but it's been a lot of fun doing these videos. Thanks to the subscribers and anyone who threw up a like. Even those of you who disagreed with me and threw up comments as to why I enjoy the argument. I think you can have an argument without being, without having personal attacks or the need to be offensive to each other. And it's been fun to engage in you all to do this sort of thing. I do intend to do at least one more video, but I'm pretty sure I'm done doing strategy videos or talking about this game at length. But I don't know. We'll see. For now, yeah, I'm putting a bookmark here, and I'm going to be starting to do videos on other aspects of Axis and Allies, not necessarily classics. So if you've been with me this far, thank you so much. This has been a blast for me to do this, and the support has been generally positive, and I just appreciate everything. So I should do a recap real quick, and then we'll close. I demonstrated a German strategy in which you kind of can shuffle your armies around and use dead zones to great and lethal effect. Okay, and as the Japanese, we discussed sunny skies in terms of the averages, understanding averages and how dice work, and if you can stay committed to the strategic bombing campaign, it does gain the bomber a net positive on an infinite timeline, as you can see here. Okay, so thank you for watching this. All the best from the good captain, and bye-bye.